Hey there. Sorry, I was in, and also I just biked to downtown Bangor, so apologies. I'm a little out of breath.
It's all
Rob,
good.
where are you?
I'm downtown Bangor
Uh, More specifically?
in the this behind me. This is Penobscot Theater's secondary space, 51 Main.
Oh, oh, okay.
Great.
All right.
I'm doing some work here today, and this
I
is where I'm
like it.
doing. Yeah,
I like it a lot. We ought to have more meetings with better art in the background is what I'm deciding from this. We ought
yeah,
to work to our Zoom meetings, some better art.
a bunch of
So
homeschool kids painted this.
nice. Cody says we're recording, so
Great.
this is the Nominations, Evaluations, and Council Policy Committee meeting, and we are here on June 12th with Rob Laraway, Jacob Baker, Clint Shan, and myself, Sarah Marks. Clint, I think the order on the agenda was to go into the equivalent of an executive session first to talk
Yep.
about candidates for various boards and committees, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so Cody,
Make sure we're off.
What's that now? Sorry.
We have to go into executive session, so we have to end the meeting for people outside and stop recording.
Right.
Are we gonna be able to do that?
Usually we would do that by ending the meeting and starting it, or actually,
Yeah. Do you want us to, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should just go to the stuff that we can do in open, Sarah, and then end the meeting.
the only problem I have with that is that I don't know how much time we need for this, and the other things could eat up, I mean, the policy and procedures manual could go for hours, so it probably would be better to do this first if we can. Do we have a way to do that?
Cody?
I can stop recording and I can turn off. I mean, honestly, it would be,
Stop recording and kick everybody out.
yeah, I'm just worried if someone could join, so I might have to, I think I might have to create you guys a separate room and send a
Okay.
link.
Why don't we, while you're getting that sorted out, I think the one thing we could do first would be to take a look through all the 360 evaluation things that I emailed to you all this morning, I thought, okay. Okay.
Sorry.
It's all good, I'm just confused. It's good keeping us on our toes. Okay, so regarding the surveys, I sent you by email. I don't know, can you guys open those links? I wasn't clear if you were gonna be able to or not because they weren't links created by me. Were you able to get into
I
them?
can. Yep.
So they didn't tell you needed permission or anything?
I can share it if you'd like.
Up on the screen?
Yeah.
There are 3 different ones.
Okay.
If you want to share, that's fine. Otherwise, I will attempt to explain to you all which ones we're looking at in what order.
Okay.
Let's see, if I take a look at that email, if I can figure out which one was called. So down at the bottom, the one that's actually an attachment is a short survey cover letter. So the idea here from our consultants was there was a whole lot of information that council wanted to be available digitally to the public in case they had more detailed questions, like what, the information about if you actually have a formal complaint you want to make, how do you do that? Or if you actually have a specific issue where you want the town to get back to you and follow up and say, here's what we did to address your issue. So anyhow, the decision was in the email to make a very short email with a link. So where it says linked cover letter or attached to email on the last little paragraph there, I'll just give you guys a minute to read through. They pretty much read identically, the two, and when you get done, just sort of wave at me or something so I know you're done.
We're both done.
Okay. So at any rate, so this would just be the short email that would go out inviting people, although I think there's no email title here, and I think she was suggesting something like 10 minutes of your time for a council performance survey, ? Something like that. Which seems fine to me, sounds inviting. So unless anyone has any problems with the short version, I was just gonna then have us take a look at the longer info page kind of that it would link to. Is that okay with folks?
Sounds
Good.
Okay, Go ahead, Rob.
I was just being affirmative.
Okay, excellent. So the info page is the link with like a zillion lines of gobbledygook. Like it takes 6 lines in your email or something. It's the longest link. I think it's the 3rd one.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's bringing up an error for me.
It's
Yeah,
what?
me as well.
Yeah, that's the only one I can't open.
Okay, so how about, everybody have their phone?
Yep.
How about if I take a photo of the hard copy and text it to you all?
Sure.
It's fine by me.
So-
Perfect.
All right, here we go, coming your way.
I love the adaption, Sarah. Thank you.
You are welcome. Okay, taking me a few minutes, however, I do not do the fast speed of thumb clicking that my children do. Okay, and, oops. Okay, I think you all should have it. That's
Boom.
the. No?
Yep, I got it.
Okay,
We're good.
so the one I just sent you is, does it say at the top town council, correct? Details of town council?
Yes.
Okay, you guys read ahead, and then I'm gonna send you the town manager version, which is identical except for the first top paragraph, but I'll do that.
That one
while
I
you're-
could open.
It's the same link, so you can't, if you can't open it's not the
That's not the
survey.
attachment then at the bottom?
Nope. That's just
Oh,
the
that's
short.
the email invitation. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Anyway, you guys read this one and I'll take you a copy of the town manager one and send it your way too. So just so you know, it's hard for me to see you all because there's a bar about the meeting recording across the top. So I only see Jacob. When everybody's done reading, you'll have to say something because I can't really see anybody but Jacob. So let me know.
I'm done reading.
So am I.
Me too.
Okay, great. So, this would not be an email, that would get changed at the top. This would just be like an info page, the, more details and information page. For me, it had everything we asked for. I like the fact that it's separate and that the email itself is a nice short little intro and only folks that really want to delve into the weeds can click here and read all this extra information. I thought they wanted a friendly, we had talked about wanting a friendly tone. I like how they did the PSs about the more complicated things. It just seems friendly and not to me. But if people have objections to this, Jordan wrote it and sent it our way. Now's your time if there's something you'd like to see changed.
So Sarah, correct my memory, people are going to get 2 emails, one for the council survey and one for the manager survey?
They'll come a month apart from each other.
Okay,
The town manager survey will come first just because with our council schedule, we have to be able to. We need to hold those meetings in time to start working right after the
Yeah.
election work plan, and we can't have the council discussion until after the council election. So anyway, the town manager
Yeah.
one will happen in September. A full month later, the town council one will happen. And it does say in the email, the shorter email about the town manager survey, I believe, let me see. Because if it doesn't, we can get it put back in. That's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think as long as even in the subject line, we make it clear that this is one of 2 emails or 2 of 2 emails, because I know myself, and if I get 2 similar looking emails within a couple months period of time, I will just assume they're duplicates and ignore the second one.
okay. And that's a good catch because on the longer email, when the town manager survey went out, it had a line that said a similar survey will be, to gather feedback about the council will come in October.
But but
you
maybe,
wanna-
and maybe yeah, I mean, make it more, maybe I'm not giving people enough credit by just, assuming I'm like most people, but most people I don't think are going to read in detail all of those paragraphs.
Okay,
So
I'll
if we
ask,
can make,
yeah, go
get,
ahead.
in the subject line, just very clear, this is the council one, this is however we want to delineate it.
Okay, so I think the original idea was boldface, that it would say town manager performance survey in bold, and maybe just put the town manager part in bold even. It would say something like town manager performance survey, 10 minutes of your time. Or something
Perfect.
like that. Does that seem fine as long as we boldface town manager, and then when town council comes out, we boldface town council?
Yep, sounds okay to me.
And what's the timeline, like the order, which one gets shared first with folks?
So, the town manager one goes first because of the logistics of council meeting schedules, and getting through this all in time. We can't do council first. We were told because we shouldn't be having the discussion about council right before the council election.
Yep.
Right, Clint brought forward that could be seen to be trying to influence the election in one way or another. So when we made when we built the schedule, we had this long conversation about this and ended up deciding that we had to do the town manager one first.
And more so that the results of the council survey was after the final vote. Because I thought that's the biggest. If you came out and saying, hey, by the way, here's the council survey and we're doing great, it
Right.
really gives an edge to incumbents right
Right.
before the vote in November. So I said, and again, literally one day later, you could make it public. It's just, I would not make it public anywhere near that before or near that election date.
Yeah, so that is why the town manager one will happen first, and it starts September 1st, it opens, it closes September 21st. The company will analyze data and have the analysis back to us by September 31st. So in our October meetings, council can look at that data and then send data to Clint for him to look at, and then have a meeting together, and we do all that in October. Meanwhile, the council survey is out in October, starts October 1st, just like Clint's was September 1st, closes October 21st. Data comes back to council right at the beginning of November, like November 1st, but we don't talk about that data publicly until after the election. That sound good to everyone?
Yeah, the
Yep.
reason I was actually just, I can imagine people saying, we just did a survey about town government. And maybe putting something in the second survey saying, hey, we put out a survey recently about the town manager, just to be clear, this is a new survey about the town council.
Maybe it's an introductory paragraph for both. Like Jacob said too, town government is about to initiate a 2 surveys process with you. This is the first step, survey number 1.
This is the
In a
second.
30 days survey 2. And then when the next one comes out saying, hey, 30 days ago you had step 1. This is now step 2. Maybe it's that one paragraph at the top of every one that's bold, really, really highlights first survey of 2, second survey of 2.
I think
So
that creates a good expectation.
I think Friedman could probably help. They'll see this really quick and be able to help on that.
Yeah, I'll ask them. I will say that their biggest feedback has been less information in this email. So
Okay.
like we keep
Yep.
adding more things. We keep saying it needs to have this and it needs to have that and it needs to have the other thing. And they keep saying back to me, it needs to have way less things.
Well,
I don't
are we going to have the respondents' emails? Is Gary Friedman?
No, it's anonymous.
So
It
no
doesn't-
one would be able to email them, thank you for completing the survey?
I don't know if there's an automatic response that goes back. I can ask about that, but they don't collect anyone's emails at all. It's 100% anonymous. But it maybe it could auto generate something back, but I kind of doubt it since it doesn't collect. I'll ask.
There could be a message at the end of the survey, even if it's not like It's just like a final survey page that just says, hey, and keep an eye out for the second survey coming out. Blah, blah, blah. That keeps not too much information from the initial invitation or, front page, but still at the end leaves them with a reminder to anticipate participating again.
Okay,
If there is a follow-up page that's possible, if that's easy. I mean, I don't feel that strongly about this, but I think it could help put this on more people's radar.
okay, so the notes I've taken for them basically say just some way to be very clear which one is the town manager survey, which one is the council survey, and that there are two separate surveys. Hopefully something even in the email title line that instead of just saying 10 minutes of your time and then boldface town manager survey, even in the email title, you want something that would try to indicate that there's two surveys coming. I'm guessing that may be hard because that title's getting really long.
I don't
Yeah.
think that matters. I don't think that's
Okay, but either in the opening to the email or maybe at the end of the survey itself, somewhere that it indicates, keep your eye out for a second survey.
Yeah, I feel like if they do have a final page to put something at the end of it, I think that's great. If not, I'm not that worried about it.
Okay. I will ask all these questions. And then I will probably simply email you all whatever comes back as their attempts to address that. If someone has, issues with it, then I guess we can bring this back to committee again, but I was hoping that this would go to council for approval in July. Clint has been talking about whether we could potentially take a council meeting off in August, which would be lovely if our schedule allowed it. And I need to be sure that GFA has the go-ahead from us by August, since they need to put it out, for the 1st of September. So, do people feel comfortable with my making this request and emailing you what GFA thinks is the best way to go back?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
100%.
This is
Okay.
what they get paid to do. I trust what they tell us.
Same.
and everyone seems fine with a shorter email and a link to a page that has more details about everything else you could possibly want to know about what's happening with this data and all of that, right? Okay, so then the only other question on this would be the other two links you have, and let me just, before you even open them, tell you the very specific question. If you want to read through these entire surveys to check and make sure they are exactly the language that we sent them, for questions, nothing has been changed on any of that, but certainly welcome to have folks, proofread and be sure everything is good to go. I did want to ask just one question. You might remember that our human resources consultant had a fairly strong opinion that it would be good to have the Likert scale have number 7 on the left saying strongly agree and number 1 on the right saying strongly disagree. As it turns out, that is the one permutation that can't be done by the software. We can get one of two options, and that was the one thing I wanted to ask you about. So let's see, if you open up the town manager survey and you went to, it's like on the 3rd page where it says competency number 1, integrity. Does everybody see that? If you get into your town manager survey?
Yep.
Okay, and then if you flip to the next page, then competency number 2, where it says functional and operational expertise. Okay, those are the two layouts we can get. If we want 7 to be the number read first with strongly agree, it's got to be this vertical layout that you saw on competency number 1. If you really care that your Likert scale goes left to right, then your only choice there is to have strongly disagree first on the left. I was a little concerned that data analysis might be harder with the vertical setup. I'll tell you that the vertical setup basically means they've just created a multiple choice question instead of a Likert scale. So for them, it doesn't come back with automatic analysis of number answers, right? It just comes back going like 8 people said option A and whatever. I checked with them and that doesn't matter for them because that's what they do, right? They're data analysis people. It'll all dump into a spreadsheet and then the spreadsheet will crunch the same data. So for them, it makes no difference. They can easily analyze it either way. I would say for us as a council, if we decide, if we ever decided not to fund a consultant for this and decided to run it ourselves on any given year, for us, we would want to do the Likert scale because it automatically spits out the data analysis when we do it that way. And it won't automatically spit it out with vertical, but this year that doesn't matter. So which way do you guys like it? Do you like vertical with strongly agree at the top, or do you want horizontal where the strongly agree is over on the right? The other thing I'll say is on the vertical one, you might see at the bottom, if we do this vertical option, we can stop putting all these disclaimers in that say, please remember, if you don't know an answer, just skip the question, because we're able to add a 0 option down on the bottom, which says, I don't know.
I think
So
having
sorry.
the I don't know as part of it is helpful. Outside of that, I have very few feelings about vertical versus horizontal. I guess if the 0 is possible, the I don't know is helpful, then we should do the vertical.
Okay, we got one vote. Jacob, Clint,
I have no opinion.
okay.
I'm close to that, but
Yeah, I only flagged this because our human resources consultant flagged it and
Yeah.
was very clear that she had a strong opinion that it was important that the positive answer be what was read first. Clint, how do you feel? You got any opinion here?
So I mean, so you're saying that if you go horizontal, it's not the horizontal we're seeing. She's gonna flip it to be strongly agree to strongly disagree.
No,
7-1.
she cannot flip it. If
Oh,
we
she
go,
cannot flip it.
that's what I'm telling you, that if we want strongly agree to be read first, we have to go with the vertical list. She cannot flip it.
I don't know. I mean, this is, you know, there's pros and cons to both, Sarah. I mean, I look at all of these, you know, someone gets reading into this that's thoughtful and taking the time and they're like, you know, they could be like, what's the difference between somewhat agree, strongly agree? What am I really somewhat agreeing to? You know,
Right.
whereas if it's just left to right, it's okay, 7's the highest, 1's the lowest. I'm not quite a 7, but I'm pretty close, so I'm going 6. And you
I
don't have
think
to,
people, yeah,
you
people are
know, and
more.
that's so I like that, but then you're right. Then you got to tell them if you don't want to answer it, please skip.
Yeah, I don't think it's that big a problem on the skip. I asked at GFA and I also asked Brian at the school board level. They've always had to tell people to skip if they didn't have an answer. Hasn't seemed to cause any huge problems. I do think people are more used to reading these Likert scales left to right and kind of more used to visualizing kind of where am I on this scale? And then you just sort of pick a number that kind of looks where you are on the scale.
I think for that point, you've convinced me. I was like 50-50, but I would say based upon that, I'd lean a little bit to the other one.
But the other option, like I said, has the don't know and also gives a label for each number, which the human resources person also liked. She said it's helpful to tell people, what does it mean if they pick a 6? You know, it means agree versus somewhat agree. So
My
I really,
attitude is you guys pick and this is great. Let's first year, if it doesn't work for some reason after the fact, we'll probably see it, but otherwise we're probably overthinking it.
yeah, I think it's okay either way. So, I mean, I really don't have a strong opinion on this. I really brought this back primarily because our human resources person highlighted it. So I didn't feel like it was something that I should make a decision on my own. I feel like it does need to be a group decision. So, and you can go back one page further and see that on the survey instructions, GFA wrote a list telling people what each number stood for. So that in case they went with the horizontal Likert scale, people had been told ahead of time what the numbers meant. But really, I mean, I think it's sort of a personal preference. I sort of liked personally, I kind of liked the vertical one that told me what each number meant, but I know some people are much more visual and like these sideways Likert things. So I think we need to show of hands or something because we do need to pick one option or the other to try this year.
Let's try I'm gonna put my neck out there. Let's
Yeah.
try the one that has the I don't know. And let's
Okay.
see how many people actually check I don't know. If
Okay.
no one's using I don't know, then I think next year we should switch back to the one that goes left to right. What do you
Got
think?
it.
Agreed.
sounds
Yeah.
good.
Perfect, thank you all. So I appreciate the feedback. I will get those, that information back to GFA. I will send you all the changes they make to the email titles or whatever to highlight that there are 2 separate surveys coming. And hopefully get something in the subject line that's helpful on that. And we are done on this topic. Can we now go into executive session to talk about committee?
Yep. And Cody sent us a new link, so what we all gotta do is leave and click the other link in your email. Can you do that?
Okay.
Do
Can
that.
you
Yeah.
do that?
Yep.
Okay.
Sarah, if you could join from your laptop, we'll leave the TV the way it is.
Okay, got it. There you all are. Okay, so, we are back out of executive session. And Clint, are you there also? Guess not.
I am.
Okay, there we go. Now you are.
Sorry.
Okay, it's good. So we're all back out of executive session. We are reporting back out that we will be recommending to council to appoint Brandon Lieberthal to the Board of Appeals and the Board of Assessment Review here in Orono. We are also reporting that, our town manager will follow up with the tree board, who still has 1 vacancy. They frequently do a lot of their own recruiting and working to get candidates out to serve there, so we'll encourage that to happen. Those would then come to us if there are candidates who apply. Also reporting for other candidates who volunteered to serve on these committees. Staff will be reaching out to those who were not appointed, just again, thanking them so much for their willingness to serve, letting them know we are keeping their names and contact info on file. We frequently have openings that happen, often during the year, not even as to the next year. So we hope that those folks will continue to be on a list of folks willing to serve if needed. We have great candidates. And then finally reporting out that we do have a current vacancy for an alternate on the voter registration Board of Appeals. That Board of Appeals is regulated by state law. State law indicates that there are 5 positions on that board. 1 position, the chair position, a recommendation should come from the town clerk. That position is currently filled. The other 4 positions, 2 recommendations are to come from the Democratic local committee and 2 from the Republican local committee. Our Republican seats are both currently filled. Our Democratic seats, we have 1 filled and we have 1 alternate position open. So a letter has been sent to the Democratic committee here in Orono requesting that they bring forward a candidate to nominate to council for consideration for that alternate position as per state law. So I think we are currently up to date on all committees. Anything I'm missing, folks, there? All right, I think we're good on that front. We are nearing the end of our time, so we will not get too far into our policy and procedures manual, but I think the good news is that we are now in a good position with pretty much everything else on our plate wrapped up to really focus in on this next month. I did want to, I guess, just take these few minutes to sort of ask the committee, you know, as I went through this again, it hadn't been looked at in quite a while now. It had been a year probably, and I don't know, Rob, do you remember when this was last looked at? It was before Clint came for sure. I feel like it's been about over a year since it was looked at. And in that time period, this council policy procedures manual, we did the kneecap recommendations in the fall and implemented a lot of structural changes. Then council took that vote on how council meetings work and committees fit in and all of that. I guess one question I wanted to just on high level scale bring in here is if it's okay with this committee, before we next meet, I'm willing to taking a look at the sections of this policy and procedures manual that talks about council meetings and committee meetings and workshops and how they fit together and draft something completely new for us to look at on that. I can send that out also ahead of the next meeting, but that section, when I looked at it now, those 2 sections, they virtually no part of them makes much sense anymore since the structure has been significantly altered. Would people feel comfortable with me making some draft for us to look at in July on that, along with the other sections on this that we need to obviously look through?
Completely.
Yep. One question. So the kneecap recommendations on meeting structure, kind of all of those administrative aspects, do those live in a policy or any sort of manual currently, or were those just recommendations that from NECAP that we all agreed on as a council? And I guess the point of my question, or the point of that, is just making sure that we don't have policies or recommendations that live in two different places, one in this manual, one in this manual.
100%, Jacob. That's the goal here, is to turn the council policy and procedures manual into the place where all of those live.
Perfect. Okay, great.
Because the NECAP recommendations, I mean, as you all remember, that was a 60-page report with tiny details of every ordinance, tiny change that had to be made, and right, we don't need that level of detail for every new counselor to have to wade through when they come in. They need to know how it currently functions, not all the little things we had to shift in order to get it here. So yeah, our goal
So
would be,
those don't live in a current manual. They were just recommendations that we adopted as a council. Like,
right, they're in the council
Yeah.
drive. So they're in the council drive in that link that Amanda shared, that I shared out with the committee, that has all the policies and manuals and guidelines that currently exist. And Clint and I have talked about this a lot, and our goal would be into this policy and procedures manual, all those things go. All parts of them that are currently relevant, all go into this one central council policy and procedures manual. So every time a counselor comes on, they get told, here you go. It's all right here. You find it all in one place, and it would live digitally on the council drive. There would be a printed copy you could take home with you if you wanted to have it to flip through at a meeting, whatever. Our goal, sort of like Clint did with the personnel policy handbook, right, Clint? Was to do the same thing and to get all the scattered policies and procedures into one place, so that there's not multiple things that have to get updated, and that this policy and procedures manual would get looked at annually by this group to be sure that whatever gets updated during each year is updated in here each year. Does that all make sense to everyone? Sound good or not so good? Yeah, okay. So I've already gone through and made a lot of highlights in the sidebar about different parts from the NECAP report that I'm aware need to go into different parts of this manual. But the section that's needs the most work is going to be the part on council meetings and committee meetings and how those interact with each other. So I'll take a stab at that and get something out to everyone before July, so that we could look at this manual with the comments down the side and a possible total rewrite of that section then in July. Does that sound good? I'm also going to send now, I think I have this by email. I will send to you, when we first started this council policy and procedures manual edits way back when, there was a 1-page thing about what is our goal with updating this? What are we trying to be sure we don't miss? It was pretty short and to the point, and basically indicated we want to be sure we're complying accurately with the charter and the ordinances in all our council processes, because some of the things in the manual a couple of years ago were not in line with the charter and the ordinances, and we needed to fix those. Those have all been highlighted and marked by now. To absolutely make sure we're not misrepresenting the law at any point in this council policy and procedures manual, make sure the manual reflects how we're currently doing things. So that there's no disjoint. We don't want a new counselor to read the manual and say it should be this way, and then actually council isn't doing that. So to make sure those things sync up. The fourth was to make information as transparent, as accessible as possible to all council members and to the public. Anyone who wants to know how council works should be able to look and see, this is how council works. And then explain structures and processes of town government clearly and fully. Again, so that anyone reading it could understand how the system works. So I think we're in a great place where, now having the NECAP work done, I think it's going to make eventually this manual much better. And I think we'll really be able to delve in July. We're finally ticked off our other items. Are we good? Anything else you want to say about the manual before we depart? And Rob? I can't hear you, Rob.
I was just saying thank you.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right, I think we're a couple minutes over. Don't want to keep people past their time. Oh, I did have one question. July. I noticed, Clint, that our meetings were not listed in the Observer. in July and August. There's no kneecap times listed. I don't know why. Other committee times are listed, but we're not. We have typically been meeting, this is the second Thursday of the month. I had a question in July. I have a scheduling conflict on the second Thursday. Would folks, the first Thursday would be very close to the 4th of July, which doesn't sound good to me. How would people feel about potentially meeting on the third Thursday in July? I could pull that date up and people look at their calendars if that worked.
The 17th, I'm fine with it.
So-
Yeah,
I'm not going to be available during the normal workday for July. So I might have to miss that. I'm happy to give some feedback on your
what kind
calendar.
And I was
Rob, what
hoping to
time-
take that Thursday off.
okay, what
I was
time of,
wanted a little brief, long weekend and then I was gonna take a couple days.
that sounds fine. Rob, what time of day are you available in July? Perhaps we could shift the time of this meeting for our July meeting as long as we publicize that.
Would it help if Amanda just emailed everybody and said, can we get some other availabilities and do a little bit of a doodle poll?
We could, but I'm just curious, Rob, are you evening available or just not available?
Yeah, my schedule turns into a normal 9 to 5 during the month of July. And then I'll be
And-
back to usual. So yeah, anytime after, really, I could do 5 o'clock onward.
So Clint, if we were to look at our original meeting day, which was the 10th of July,
Yeah.
would it be possible for folks to meet at 5 on that Thursday?
I'm just gonna throw this out there. I know we're doing a lot of really good work, but a meeting, a night meeting in July, I will acquiesce to the group, but I am fine not meeting in July if we have to meet in the evening.
Okay, let's
We
do a
get 2
doodle
nice
poll.
months a year in Maine, so
Yeah, let's do a doodle poll thing. The only thing I would highlight, Jacob, is that it is actually part of what council is being evaluated on this year, of whether we have moved forward on our own internal policy and procedures process.
Okay.
So just, it's on it's on the surveys, which will go out in October. So there may be, some deadline on that, although we have done the kneecap work, but I think it specifically lists the policy and procedures manual in our goals for the year as a council.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
my only time pressure. Otherwise, I'd be 100% with you and be like, let's skip July. But if we're hoping to complete it before October, we might need a July meeting. So let's email out about that. As of now, we don't know when we're meeting in July. Our August meeting time sounds like it'll be fine, our standard time. Rob's back to his regular schedule. And Clint, I'm not sure why they didn't show on the Observer, but maybe we can at least get the August one listed and we'll start a doodle poll about July.
So do you want Amanda coordinating that a little bit for July?
I don't, yeah, that's fine. Have her send one out. I mean, at this point, I think we need it for like the second and third weeks of July, pretty much all times of day and evening. Right, it's gonna be a pretty big doodle poll, right? We gotta figure out, there's a lot of possible times we gotta look at.
I'm gonna go through my calendar a little bit and just kind of give you,
Perfect.
things that would work so that there's actual slots. So, okay, we'll get something.
Fantastic. Thank you
Okay.
all.
Thanks.
See ya.
Nice to see you.
You too.